Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Layla Messian. I'm a recent grad of UCLA and I currently work with the Clippers as their marketing and promotions associate. And today I have the honor of interviewing Evan Hoffman, VP of Octagon Boston. Evan, thank you for joining me today.
Great to be here.
Awesome. So my first question for you today is, would you be able to provide a brief summary of your current role and primary responsibilities as VP of Octagon?
Yep. So I sit within our client services group as a business lead. I am the business lead for Bank of America, Honeywell, Frontier Communications, and Doosan, which is a Korean multinational with some owned entities in the U.S. So in that role, I'm really responsible for driving the business. So making sure that we're continuing to find opportunities to grow the business. Generally, we'll have a year-to-year retainer with each of our clients, but there's opportunities throughout the year to find additional ways to work with those clients, whether it's adding staff or bringing in our host of specialty services from creative to strategy to experiential, et cetera. So that's one piece. The second is I really focus on the strategic side of our activation. So really trying to think about how our programming can ladder up to broader corporate priorities within each of my clients and drive real business outcomes. And then really, take a step back as we solidify the strategy and it moves to implementation. And then the third piece is I do work internally to help our business development team both find opportunities as well as to cultivate them and also respond to reactive RFP and RFI requests.
Awesome. So it seems like you have a lot on your plate, and I know that you've been with Octagon for a very long time. So just a side note, curious to know what has been keeping you at Octagon for so long.
Yeah, I think it's the quality of the company. I worked with two competitors previously, so have a little bit of a sense, and those were good organizations. I would say Octagon's a great organization, just very stable, a lot of long tenured, smart people. You get the sense that there's real thought into how to continue to grow the company. And then on a day-to-day basis, just the quality of the people. It's something that's said often, but we really do have the best people in the business. I believe that both as people and as smart marketers. And then the third piece is we just work, with some of the best brands in the biggest spaces, whether that's, internationally with the Olympics and World Cup and Rugby World Cup to the U.S., where we have relationships with pretty much every major, sports and entertainment entity. So, you're really playing on the biggest stages and helping some of the biggest brands in the world solve, their biggest, business challenges through the prism of sports, entertainment, and culture. So, from that standpoint, you may not be making the final decision, but you're as close to the people that are making the final decision around, some of the biggest investments in the spaces that we play. So from that standpoint, it really does feel like the major leagues.
Awesome. And then with that, what are some key lessons that you've learned from working in sports?
I think first and foremost, it's really important to think beyond just solving the problem of the moment. Really taking more of a strategic orientation, regardless if it's to a very task-based problem or a broader strategy. What I mean by that is when I started in this industry, it was very siloed, but ever more, it's much more connected to the broader marketing and business strategy, and things are really evaluated in that way. So we've had many clients say, tell me why I should spend $1 in sports, entertainment, and culture versus buying general market advertising or programmatic ads in digital, et cetera. So it's being put on the same footing. So it's really important to be strategic and really think about how we can pull the different levers that we can pull again to ladder up and drive those business outcomes. And then number two, I think, is how to continue to innovate, both through technology, but also in just the ways you work day to day. So again, we used to, I would put myself in a traditional fan category, but I used to engage in sports really just when the games were on and maybe the day after You might listen to a little bit of sports radio in between, but now there's so much there's so much more opportunity to engage around your passion and what I call the moments between the moments. So finding ways to really engage and monetize things like digital and social um, when the games aren't on outside of game time, I think is a big opportunity. And that can be everything from holding events and pep rallies, as I said, to Twitter AMAs or Q&As or takeovers, and just trying to again find ways to extend the reach um, beyond the court, the field, the ice, and the time the game is actually happening.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Next question is, any highlights that you have from your sports career?
Yeah, I think for me, like the best job I ever had was running Sprint's NBA partnership. It was just a very dynamic time. It was 2013, 14, 15. So the NBA was really in its ascendancy to where it is now. You can see a lot of the roots of, the athletes really becoming the dominant, the dominant forces they are, both through athlete empowerment, starting with LeBron James' decision in 2010, but also just their personalities and leveraging social media and fashion and lifestyle and technology and all those things to really, again, build those profiles that extended beyond the court. But also, obviously the on-court action, I would argue, was at its peak right around that time, where there was a great kind of blend of passing ball movement, but the 3-point shot was really coming in, and so many great young players, and had the opportunity to work with Kevin Durant, who won the MVP during that time, and we had the TNT and ABC halftime shows, as well as the sponsorship of the app and All-Star Balloting and the Celebrity Game and Green Week around environmental sustainability. So there was a lot of great things, and the CEO Dan Hesse at the time was extremely engaged in sponsorship, and his family were. And we had a lot of support. So we were well funded, we were well supported at the top of the house, and we had those great toys to play with. So that was one, and then also go back to my time on AT&T at the marketing arm. It was really one of those times where you get to really do cool stuff. I managed all their mobile marketing efforts and was able to get out to just a ton of amazing events, from Pebble Beach to Big 12 and SEC football, the MLB All-Star Game in San Francisco, where we built a totally customized experience, down the street from AT&T Park. So that was one of those years where it was just, kind of cool event after cool event. And, when you're at Oklahoma one week and Georgia the next, it really, kind of energizes you and makes you really appreciate and love why you're in the business.
Seems like adaptability is a really big thing in terms of just like having to know what to do and being on your feet at all times, just to stay relevant for anyone in any company, even for ourselves as individuals. Awesome. And then my last question for you is, what advice would you offer college students or recent graduates pursuing a career in sports?
So I think two things. One is really around expertise, is develop a point of view about the industry and where it's going and where you can plug into it. There's never been more opportunities to get involved in so many different ways. But at the same time, how are you going to differentiate yourself from, the 10, 20, 30 people that are going after the same job? So I think it's, really follow it, think about it from a sports business and sports marketing realm, but also think about it from your own lived experience. As I said, we're in this age now of the fluid fan that the Sports Innovation Lab has termed, where, fandom is much more portable and transient, but it's also really tied to personalities, and there's a ton of loyalty there. I didn't grow up with, the internet or a mobile device or social media, but younger generations, digital natives have it. They have the best experience understanding some of the nuances that are really going to drive success, because the margins sometimes in a campaign between success and failure hinge on a lot of those tactics that are grounded in insights both around the overall philosophy and strategy, but also the implementation, and they both matter. Then the other one, and I think you've heard me say this before, is really focus on finding your voice as a person, which is about getting to a place, and it takes time where you're not afraid to say the wrong thing in service of saying the right thing. And how do you do that? I think you gotta really find your passion. Again, it doesn't have to be the thing that you're working on, but find something that you really care about and lean into that. Find your community. Build a group of people that share that passion. May not have to always agree with them, but are passionate about continuing to grow in their career, and really focus on having conversations and building those reps. And then find your inspiration, and that takes time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be someone that's right in this field. It can be someone adjacent. I mean, Robin Roberts is someone that I really admire. I just think she's so authentic, and I know that word has been overused, but she started ESPN. She kind of cut her teeth there, but she's obviously evolved to be a morning host, national morning host, but still retains a lot of that sports knowledge and kind of sports perspective. So I would say that's a lifelong one. I don't think you ever should think of yourself as a fully formed person, but the more that you can show your authentic self in an interview setting or in a work setting, the more successful you're going to be.
That was beautiful. Wow. I really do think it's just all about finding something that you think is missing within the industry and go ahead and find the solution or find a way to make it happen. And then again, to your point about just being authentic and creating authentic relationships, it's all about how you make people feel at the end of the day. Like I say, talk is cheap. Actions do speak louder than words. And it's go that extra mile to make people know that you value them and you want them in your circle and in your corner supporting you, but you also need to show up for them too when they need it. And I think a lot of students, they struggle. What can I offer to a professional who has so many years under their belt? Who knows? Maybe they're looking for an intern. Maybe you can help them. Maybe they need, they want speaker introductions, and you can bring them to your school to talk to your club. Who knows? Just be there and ask them, and just they'll come up with something that they need from you down the line for sure. And I've definitely experienced that. So just be
I'll just add to that, and I appreciate it. I think we need to find this specific industry, and I would say most brands that weren't created in the last 5-10 years need to find a way to empower and elevate younger voices, because those are future consumers, and there is a radical difference in the way that the younger generations consume and buy, and what they expect out of brands. Where if you look at the difference between me and my parents, it wasn't a radical change. We were essentially seeing the same media, TV driven, maybe magazine or TV ads, or newspaper ads. You see some on the radio, but when you can, as a brand now, where you can go to an influencer on Instagram and a consumer can swipe up and buy a product, and that's a radical change from the world that I grew up in. So understanding how to do that in a genuine, authentic, and effective way. I don't have that base of lived knowledge, and I'd be foolish not to tap into people that do. So I appreciate you saying that you've seen success when you kind of put yourself out there, and I think that's the biggest thing. You're going to get no's, you're going to get people that ignore you. Just don't even worry about that. It's process results, and it's all about the process. Put yourself out there and have something to say, and good things will happen. It only takes one. It only takes two. You don't need 100% approval or 100% response rating. And by the way, someone might not agree with you, but they might value your perspective and engage with you, in more kind of a discussion or a debate. So.
Very true. There's always more than one person that works at one company, so you just got to try that company from different angles too. Who knows? They have different locations. Try the same person with the same title at their different location. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah. And last thing, and I know we're trying to wrap up. Use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is and of anything that I wish I had when I was 22, LinkedIn. It's amazing. I mean, it is it is networking on steroids, and again, when you reach out, have a point of view, have something to say, but don't ask for a job right away, but just say, I saw this, or I had a thought here. And again, probably only get 20 to 30% response rate, but that 20 to 30% response can change your life.
It's all a numbers game.
That's what it is. It really is. That's how you have to look at it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Evan. This was amazing. Lots of good nuggets for those that are going to watch, and definitely applicable ones too. But yeah, networking is a big thing. Use LinkedIn to your advantage, and you guys will do great moving forward. So thank you again.
My pleasure. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.